What's up, friends? Welcome to Leaders, Letters, and Legacy alongside Dr. Marianne Kale. I'm your co-host, Scott Fusell, and we are thrilled you decided to tap play and spend some time with us today. We'd love it if you'd consider the show a verbal archives for many of the stories and the people who've shaped the fraternity sorority movement for the past 2+ centuries. It's time we shine a light on leaders. It's time we help them write a love letter about their letters. It is time we talk about the legacy we want to leave behind. It's time for another episode of Leaders, Letters, and Legacy. Let's go. We are so thrilled that you decided to tap play and join us today. We've got an incredible conversation coming your way with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated's very own Cheryl Turner. We'll be right back. Imagine a world where kindness leads the way. Introducing service, a mission to grow through giving, to uplift others, and to make a lasting difference. Service is about more than helping. It's about creating a ripple of care in your community. It's about showing up, doing good, and living a life that puts others first. Because the greatest growth happens when we give of ourselves. Do as much good for as many as possible for as long as possible. Service, it's kindness in action. Now back to the show.
Okay, let's go.
What a good day. Mac, what's going on? It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Scott. How have you been?
Oh my gosh, if I was a dog, I'd be wagging my tail. I'm so good.
You.
Yeah, it's just been a good run these last few weeks.
Yeah.
And I got another big weekend. You got a big weekend. Got our board of trustees meeting for Beta down in Houston, but you got a lot going on locally that has nothing to do with your personal or professional work. You just got to get into some Super Bowl shenanigans this weekend.
Super Bowl.
Talk about
Super Bowl.
NOLA right now. What's going on down
New Orleans. It's exciting. It's just, I think it's great for the community. I think it's a great showcase for what New Orleans can offer. That's the main goal, and that they'll enjoy themselves. There's so many cool things. So we're heading down tonight to check out the big light show on the cathedral and the iconic buildings downtown.
It's unbelievable.
Impressive.
It's really unbelievable.
And you know what I love about it, Scott, is it's focused on artists, local artists, and music and culture, and all the good things that make New Orleans New Orleans. But I leave for a conference tomorrow called the Southeastern Greek Leadership Association's conference in Atlanta, and so get to do 3 sessions with students from all over the Southeast on Friday, and then I'll fly back to jump into all the fun stuff. I hope it's going to be good times, and I hope whoever comes, just really kind of gets a little bit of the flavor of what we're about. So, and actually our guest today, Scott, is not too far away from me. She lives in Jackson, Mississippi, and about a 2-hour ride from Hammond, Louisiana. And I cannot tell you, I know we were telling her earlier for our listeners, we've been giddy about having the privilege and the opportunity to spend some time with our guest today. And, I'm grateful to our friend, Dr. Lori Hart, who, when we started doing these, she was like, you got to talk to Cheryl Turner from Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She's their first vice president on their national council, but she's got it going on. She knows what she's talking about. And so right away, we were like, if she says yes, we are going to be so grateful. So grateful.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you a little bit about her. First off, I got to tell you, this is a first. This is the first time we've had somebody send us 2 resumes. And let me tell you, had to send 2 because she's worthy of 2 resumes. I was blown away. I'm reading all this. I'm like, my goodness, like, when does this woman sleep?
And she's so young. She's so young. They've done so many things.
So let me give you a rundown here. These are just the highlights, because if I went word for word on her resume, we'd be here for 3 or 4 hours and wouldn't even get to talk to her. But graduated from Ole Miss in 79 and again in 1990 with her master's. She's done the majority of her professional work in healthcare and is now in client acquisition and development. And one of the things I thought was really amazing when I was reading through her current job description, she does group trainings, but she also does one-on-one empowerment consultations. And I don't know that we've ever needed people doing that kind of work more so than we do right now. So the world tells us a lot about what we are not. And for somebody to speak into who we are, I think is extraordinary. So the fact that she's doing this on a full-time basis is chicken soup for the soul. And there are people that are being lifted daily. I'm certain of it because of that work. But her Delta Sigma Theta career is just as incredible. She's been super engaged locally, at the state level, regionally, and now at the national level, serving as the first vice president. And we are just so thrilled to have her with us to hear her story and to share the impact that Delta Sigma Theta has played on her professional career, her personal career, and what service has looked like throughout her entire career. Please welcome to the show, Cheryl Turner, Delta Sigma Theta Zone. Let's go.
Yes, there she is.
Hello, hello.
Man, we're fired up to have you with us.
I appreciate it.
What
What
I,
you're both doing is amazing. So
oh,
I'm just happy to be in the company.
Well, thank you.
we're thrilled to have you, and we appreciate that affirmation. There are so many incredible stories to be told. Yours is one of them. So for saying yes, we can't tell you thank you enough. So I'm going to apologize in advance. We are a lot to handle sometimes, and so we get excited about this because it's amazing people we get to talk to, and it's an amazing experience we're trying to shine a light on. So for
You're creating an amazing environment. And as Mary Ann said, I'm from Mississippi, so I'm used to loud. I'm loud. So we should, blend right in. So
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's just so good to have you with us, and we're excited to share your story with our listeners. If you don't mind, gosh, let's just dive in. You go with that?
I'm ready.
All right. Cheryl, take us back to the beginning. Tell us about growing up. Tell us what took you to Ole Miss, and then we're going to dive into your Delta Sigma Theta career.
All right. As you heard, I'm a product of Jackson, Mississippi. That's in central Mississippi. Born into a family of primarily men, 4 boys. I had three brothers,
Okay.
but every generation it seems to be only one girl. So we're all sort of tomboys. But really grew up in a nurturing neighborhood in inner
Mm,
city Jackson, where at the corner of the street, the pharmacist there, Dr. Harmon, I shall never forget, was always so encouraging and empowering and with the kids. And we stayed in and out of that. Next door to that was the pool hall that my granddad at one point owned. And so, I knew my way around the pool hall. So those type things, that street savvy came with growing up in that area, but a house where you did not miss Sunday school or church or BTU, that house. But then, because Doc, the pharmacist, I cared about him so much. He was my favorite person. I wanted to be a pharmacist. He had gone to Xavier, and my mom
Up here.
wasn't having any part of me coming to New Orleans. Ended up going to Ole Miss so I could go to pharmacy school. The tuition and stuff out of state at that point, we weren't able to do. I was getting some assistance going to Ole Miss. So that's how I ended up at the University of Mississippi.
What did you think about Oxford? What was Oxford like in the 1970s?
Well, Oxford is a beautiful community, first
It
and
is.
foremost,
Yeah.
always has been. Oxford, at the time that I went, fall of 74, still, there was actually a couple of signs that were relics from the past, white only type thing, that experience. But the campus of the university was just full of life, engaging. I found my community there. Black student population that began to grow then. So, always felt comfortable, felt embraced and welcomed. I had great professors. So, yeah, good
That's awesome.
experience from
Okay,
this
so
standpoint.
well, you mentioned the Black student population was growing then. So what percentage of the student population did Black students make up at that time?
Wow. It was probably still 5% or around that or so. But, we're coming from only a few years before that where they
Yeah.
were blocking doors and not wanting to allow entrance, right? So when I got there, though, there there was a significant number. I never thought about our time frame actually in a sense of the percent of the student body. But I know when I went back in graduate school, it was about 12, 13%
Oh yeah.
Okay.
at that point.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've spent a good bit of time at Ole Miss, and you're right. I mean, Oxford and Ole Miss are beautiful spaces, and there is a storied history there, right, with Black students, um, and so the fact that you found your place, right, there where you
Yeah.
wanted a place where you felt like you could grow and thrive, that says a lot for that time in history as well. But it also
Yeah.
says a lot about you.
I think most of us felt like that because we began with Black alumni reunions, 1988, and they are still going strong and building every year. So
Yeah.
there is a definite sense of community at Ole Miss that you feel the love and support.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Random question. Was Ajax there when you were there?
Ajax was not there when I was undergrad, but it was, I believe, when I was graduate school
Hmm.
because
What
I
is
went
that?
back
You get for
about
our listeners. Some people might not know what you're talking about.
it's a restaurant on the square.
It's
It's
just,
really good.
it's stupid how good it is. It's just unbelievable. And when I moved to Indy, I was shocked when we had our first big family holiday meal, and I didn't know asparagus came in spears. Like I'd never had asparagus that hadn't come out of a can. I'd never had a vegetable that wasn't smothered in bacon. I didn't even know it was legal to serve vegetables without bacon in them. So I didn't know what to do when I moved up here. So I went down to Ole Miss for work. I was told if you want to taste the home, you got to go to Ajax. And so that's where we went. And 7,000 calories later, I was so happy. So happy. Man,
Yeah.
it's just so
Yeah.
all right, moving on. So found your people, found your place, found your community there. How did that happen? How quickly did Delta come into your life when you were on campus?
Well, my first semester at Ole Miss was the first semester that the chapter was chartered.
No way.
Yeah, fall of 74. So I actually was the third line on the third line, but did not necessarily go seeking out Delta, but I had, a wonderful lady in my church, Miss Loper, that she's 97 now. She is still my Delta, I call her. But Miss
Oh, wow.
Loper was that woman that always was giving and doing things and having the church collect, you know, housing products or food products for people to give out in the community. I found out later as I was growing up, Ms. Loper was a social worker. So, by trade and by nature, that was
Wow.
just her gift. So I was gravitated to that because I grew up in a house like that, where
Mhm.
when someone died on the street or in the community, my mom was the one organizing the foods to go. So all of that again, second nature. When I learned Miss Loper was a Delta, it sort of connected.
Yeah.
So when the Deltas came on campus, the AKAs were already there. So
Mhm.
when the Deltas came and right out the box, I saw some of the same characteristics because they were having a coat drive and things like that. That drew me to Delta.
Would you
That
mind explaining, Cheryl, for our listeners who might not know, what's a line? When you call it a line, what does that mean?
during membership intake, when a chapter shares that they are interested in bringing in new members, those that they select, we call it a line. And I think from a historical standpoint, going back, we were lined up by height, right? And that began well before I became Greek, but that was the thing. So you go by, it's real important that you know your number because I'm crossed at Ole Miss, but someone that crossed in Indiana, if she's a 2, that's my ism, that's my number, that's my. So you have a whole club with just that. It's, that's the
No.
excitement of it all.
I
And
love it.
particularly there's some chapters that have so much history that all of the, say the number one on the line, the ace, all of the ace from every other line will buy gifts, and just really an exciting thing.
So if you said you're lined up by height,
Yes.
so
Don't
is
be
it
getting all up in her business though with
Is it-
asking too much
Yeah.
about that.
is it shortest to tallest?
Yes.
So that, see, I would have totally been an ace, which
You
is
would have been an
exciting
ace?
for sure.
Ace, look, ace is an enviable position. Ace and tail. So
Really?
yeah. You would have
All
been
right,
good.
so it's
I
that
didn't
way
know
of.
that. I learned something
I didn't
new
either.
today.
I think it's wonderful because short people take a lot of growing up, and then finally they get a little love. So it's so fantastic. Okay, so there's the ace and the tail. That's a big deal to be those folks, and
Oh yeah.
I just love that. I want to make sure I understood what you said. So if you're number two at Ole Miss and you run into number two at Indiana, there is an immediate kind of kinship there.
An additional connection. You know, we connect because we're deltas.
Yes.
But then we're standing there talking, and someone says they were two on their line, and I'm like, I was two.
Oh
It
man.
becomes a whole other thing. There were only three on my line. I'm
Okay.
5'6". So being two, you know, usually the other twos are shorter than me. But that comes with being at a campus where, you know, there weren't big lines. There were, you know, just a small pool of candidates. So, but I was excited about being number two.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were.
So were you a sophomore at that point or a junior? You were a sophomore?
I was a sophomore when I crossed.
So did it open opportunities for you as you grew up at Ole Miss because of Delta?
Well, it absolutely did, because there was that unity, that being again a part of the Black population on that campus. We definitely worked together. It brought about that better together mentality, strength in numbers, doing those type things. But it helped me learn a lot of management styles and working with people, working in teams, personalities, those type things were bolstered by just organically being in that. And if you're there to watch and learn, you pick up a lot of that. But at the same time, there were opportunities with the university where they were looking for the Black Greeks to be in attendance at events. You know, Governor William Winter came. So they were, you know, we were a part of the group that was able to come in, meet, question, just, you know, hear his prelim speech before he went into the big crowd. So those type things were valuable to me.
When you talk about that strength in numbers, was that specific to Delta, or was that something that you felt with the AKAs and the other groups that were there, or was that specifically within Delta?
No, it was across the board.
Okay.
That unity that we, you know, we had very lighthearted, competitive spirit, of course.
Okay.
But when it came down to the work we were doing, we supported each other. If you were doing it individually or collectively coming together, we saw the strength in doing those things together.
Talk about that though. What did that strength look like, and what did it feel like?
In PHC, I don't know at that point was really a force on the campus. It wasn't an organization that we were an umbrella under. We primarily fell under Black Student Union, where we did the unifying and the strategizing and the, you know, just lifting our voices about concerns or issues that were on campus. But that would mean those meetings where you come together to just hash out, what is it that we want from this? What are we solving for? So that we could be more, have a more intelligent presence when we wanted to voice those things with
Do you think you
defined single voice. Yeah.
Do you think you became the voice for Black students at Ole Miss at that point in time?
I think at that point in time, there were definitely other voices that were strong or just as strong. I think I found my voice through that after then, more so.
Okay.
Always been a worker, eager to do whatever I could to lift the ship. Yeah, but definitely in the mix.
And we'll be right back. In a world that feels more chaotic by the day, true leadership starts with connection. Whether you are a parent, a mentor, or a leader, knowing how to coach and how to connect, especially in the middle of a storm, makes all the difference. Our Connection in the Midst of Chaos series is designed to equip you with the tools to guide with confidence, to communicate with impact, and to grow the inner wealth of those you love and those you lead, and to build trust when it matters most. Because in the midst of the chaos, whether at home or in the workplace, real leadership isn't about control, it's about connection. If you're ready to start leading with clarity and confidence, visit mariannecale.com or scottfuselcoaching.com to schedule a conversation to learn more. Now back to the show.
Did you enter pharmacy school or did you change your path at that point?
I fell in love. And so pharmacy school was on the back burner. So I changed my major, Scott. So I changed my major to forensic chemistry.
It's a little more simple.
Because he was in forensic chemistry.
That's why?
He was in forensic chemistry.
Of course he was.
You know, it made sense at the time.
Tell me it worked out.
Well,
oh, okay, good. Okay, good. All right.
We're not married now.
So take us from there. Graduated from Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Take us from that place on.
Graduated from Ole Miss with a degree in forensic chemistry. Really enjoyed chemistry. You know, when you look at a lot of the CIS shows and stuff, that gives you a hint at that. Mm-hmm. So it was always very interesting. And, you know, began to work in the field, but soon after then got married. After about 4 years, had a child. And then after a couple of years, we were divorced after then. But the thing was, while I was married, I stepped away from Delta because, you know, being married, trying to be the good wife, you know, definitely the mom, good mom. But after our marriage dissolved, I found Delta again. I ran to Delta again and found, you know, again, that support and that excitement that I had pretty much put on the shelf for a while.
She never left you. You took a break.
Never left.
She never left you.
Was waiting on me to, you know, get a clue and come back.
And you know, Cheryl, that's one of the things we talk about today is that, and especially in the NPC, National Panhellenic Conference groups, I work with our women all the time. There's this drop culture, well, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to drop. It's difficult. And I love that you said, because that's what I tell them. I'm like, when things get difficult, that's when you should be running to us, right? Not running away. And I love that at a time in your life, you could have said, but you'll never say I was a Delta. You'll always say, I am a Delta. That's right. And so I love that when you needed Delta, she was just waiting for you with open arms. Is that right?
Always. I tell you what, you're giving me chills just recounting that to me.
Tell us how that felt. Tell us about that. Tell us about that if you don't mind.
I mean, it's the emotion of it, that there is a true sisterhood. And I don't think it's held solely in Delta. I believe that every other organization in the D9 has that. It's that those people that you can be at your most vulnerable with, but they also are there to lift you up when things are going great too. We celebrate each other. Now, do we always get on each other's nerves, or do we always, yeah, we do. I tell, now I have occasion to tell people, did you pledge Delta or did you pledge the Deltas? Because if you pledge the Deltas, you're going to always be upset. But, keep the main thing the main thing. We came into this organization for the purpose that it had and the mission that it espouses, for us to be of constructive development to each other and for us to do service in our communities. It's easy to understand why we continue our memberships well beyond college.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be honest with you, very few women in my organization, Scott's organization, would be sitting with a sweater. One, who knows if they bought anything since undergraduate, right? So I told a group of students on Sunday I was working with, I'm like, the Divine Nine, they will wear their letters, their colors, their everything, their merch, as they would call it. I said, till the day they die. I said,
it's a lifetime commitment.
That's it.
That's what we come into knowing. It is a lifetime commitment.
How do you teach that? How do you teach that, Cheryl?
That's a good question, Marianne. Through example, primarily. I got a call just this past week from a young lady that is interested in applying, and she asked me to write her letter. I don't write many letters at all, because I take it seriously that I'm putting my name on the line for somebody. It's like co-signing for a car. Are you going to pay this note back, or am I going to have to? But I did for her because I've been knowing her since she was born. Her father and I went to college together at Ole Miss. And then I met her mom when he began to date her, and we just stayed close. And she played with my son. It was just, the thing to do. But I talked to her like I talk to people that ask me to write their letter. Do you know how serious this is? How seriously I take it? Service to others. This is a lifetime commitment. I'm putting my name on the line for you because I believe you're going to stick with this and stay with this. What can you give the organization? And then the question is, what are you looking for from the organization? Have like a 45-minute conversation. And, you can feel sometimes when people are saying what you think they want you to hear. But I felt very good about my choice. So, I've written the letter. She's hit submit. So we're just waiting to see what comes of it. But I'm excited if she'll be coming in.
Well, I go back to when you say you can tell if somebody is saying what you want to hear or not. That took me right back to the pool hall. Yeah. When you talked about the street smarts that you picked up, that I have to believe that you picked up some of those skills way back, just walking through and seeing the way people interact with each other. And you can tell the people who are truth tellers and those who are, I'm trying to find a really nice way to say this. Gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because a couple of questions I had written down earlier today. What do you hope that young women take from the experience, and what do you hope they give to Delta Sigma Theta?
When I think about taking from the experience, I have to go back and think about founders. They were college-age women at Howard that decided to march in the suffrage march. They were the only African-American organization, well, at that time, Black organization We've gone through several name changes. But at that point, they were a group of Negro women that decided to march. And they were made to march at the back of the line, right? But they stayed and they persevered. And if you read the articles that talk about it, it talked about this crowd of 5,000 or more, primarily men, that were angry that these women, Black and white, were marching for the right to vote. And at that point, the right to vote was not even promised the Negro woman. They were like visionaries and strategizers, because I believe they thought, if we march here and they get it, then we can get it. But we've got to show up in this space. And so I want them to get that heritage, that legacy, that line of blood that runs through us that says social action and activism is in our DNA. That's what Delta is all about. That's how we came about. I want them to get that and understand that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I believe then that's not such a long stretch to lifetime commitment, if you really get the true purpose of it. And then what they can give is just that commitment to always show up and do the right thing. Not just show up when we're taking the chapter photo. Don't just show up when we're having the party. I need you to show up when we're building the Habitat House and it's 30 degrees outside, but that was the day we chose. So, those guys are going to be there. We need to show up. It's the inconvenience part that you step through, because the founders, God, not only were they inconvenienced, they risked their life and limb. But the story has it, they came out without a scratch, even though there were some fights that broke out along the way and there were injuries recorded. So I was in San Antonio this weekend, the home of one of our founders, Myra Davis Hemmings. And when I was reading her bio, she was 15 years old when she got on a train from San Antonio to DC. So when we were breaking that down, it wasn't the Amtrak that got you there in a couple of days. She was probably on that train a week or more. But 15, and she was 18 when she became one of the founders of Delta and graduated. Wow. At 18, I was looking for, parties and, trying to be cute. Yeah. So anyway, going back to the fact that social action is in our DNA, and just show up is what I give to you and what you can give back.
Very, very special thank you to our friends at Holmes Murphy Insurance for sponsoring today's episode featuring Delta Sigma Theta's Cheryl Turner. Holmes Murphy has long been a trusted partner in the fraternal world, providing guidance and protection for organizations all across the country. Their commitment to leadership and risk management makes conversations like this possible. Thank you, Holmes Murphy, for investing in the stories that shape our community. Today's show was hosted by Dr. Marianne Calais and Scott Fussell. For more information, please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also follow Dr. Mack and Scott on social or on the web at mariannecalais.com and scottfussellcoaching.com. Thanks again for tapping play and joining us for another episode of Leaders, Letters, and Legacy. This has been a Find Your People production.